we're talking about the eternal aspect of personality, and that there's a long career, eternal career. So what is beyond our world? What is beyond what we know as planet Earth? What is personality survival? So that's the next segment, and the next thing I want to talk about. What is it after here? What is it after that? And after death? And the other day we were having a little bit of chat on this, and I had you were commenting something very interesting, Don. And I'll let you put it out there on what is personality survival. So can you help us with the definition and what you believe is that?
Yeah, personality survival. For some people, you would call it resurrection. Some people call it an afterlife, life after this life. Uh, from the standpoint of personality survival, we're talking about this personality that we have now that
Mm-hmm.
is useful to us and will survive our death. Not the physical body or the physical brain, but that personality will be the primary scaffolding that survives this life and will form the basis of following us and being who we are through the rest of eternity. So, why is an understanding of personality survival so important? Well, our view of death shapes how we live right now.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, every person will seriously come to terms with it. Personality survival and our understanding of it could prove to be, if we understand it and we see its factualness, it
Mm-hmm.
could give us courage in this life, and it can also enable us to not look for the quick fix to accomplish what we want. And we can also just think of an absence of a fear of death as a great relief and unburdening of ourself. So this is the problem with understanding personality survival. How do we come to make it real? How do we come to believe it? That is key. We can understand personality survival from an intellectual standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Most Christians, or practically all Christians, believe that they will be resurrected to what they describe as heaven after they die. Yet many Christians are afraid of death.
True that.
Many people, and I know that from the Christian standpoint because I've been involved with them, but I wonder how many people who believe in reincarnation or some other form of life after this life also hold hidden fears
Mm-hmm.
that I wonder if this is really going to happen when I close my eyes and I'm unconscious. See? So it's that fear of not really knowing, because you can only experience that kind of death once. You can't dive into it and then come back and see if it worked or not.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
there's
more
the small ones that have gone and come, maybe, but yeah, once you're gone, you can't really
as a
experience the
rule. Yes.
resurrection. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. So then the big challenge is, once we understand the personality is real, that it's a bestowal of the Father to all of mankind, and that it has the potential to survive death, how do we make that a reality so that we can have all of the benefits that come from having an optimistic view of the future after
Mm-hmm.
this life and also make it impact our life as it is?
As it is, as we're living it. Yeah.
So for me, I can only give you my experience. And that is this. For a long time, there was this feeling of, wow, what is going to happen when I close my eyes? You know, I know that there were many witnesses to Jesus' resurrection, and there are pros and cons that people have said that they have died and that they have gone to heaven and have come back, and that's their personal experience, but that really hasn't given me much comfort in my own hadn't given me much
Yeah.
comfort in my own.
Yeah.
When I read after decades of having the traditional view of heaven, okay, which was okay, I'll accept it because Imma just
Yeah.
accept it on faith.
And we're
It
we're in heaven playing harps and angels,
Yeah,
and it's a
so
very standard view, right?
exactly. However, when I had the opportunity after decades to sit down and understand the process of resurrection, and the only place I've ever read the details was in the Urantia book. It shows exactly what happens physically, on a physiological basis, the moment that death occurs. What happens to your father fragment? Where does it go? What happens to what we call the soul? Where does it go?
Yeah.
How is it all assembled so that we are a person after this life? Well, so far we've all been told, "Oh, we'll meet Peter at the gate, pearly gate." Okay, that may satisfy a 10 or 12 years old, but to a real thinking and rationalizing adult,
Yeah.
that may not be enough. And for
Yeah.
many
Wow.
Christians and for me, that wasn't enough. But when they described just the mechanism of action, it's like when
Yeah.
you take a vitamin and you know the mechanism of action, how it's actually working with your cells and with your immune system and with
Mhm.
all of that, you say, okay, these guys know what they're talking about. And then your
Yeah.
experience harmonizes with that. So when
Yeah.
it described the assembly part and what you will see upon awakening and the experiences in detail, I said, now, okay, this is someone rational who's not giving me a fairy tale story? And how do they get all of these details? So I can take my belief in a resurrection and marry it now to a very serious discussion. So I no longer have this fear. I know that when I close my eyes, and I've often used this illustration since I've got this new reassurance, and that is resurrection is something we rehearse every night
Yeah.
when we go to sleep and we wake up the following morning. We're rehearsing death and resurrection in a sense. We go to sleep, we wake up to a new day. And this is how it is there. And when
Yeah.
those details, that mechanism of action was described to me in such detail and with such clarity, the spirit part had to kick in. I believe that, and I can exercise faith in it. And now my whole trajectory is,
Yeah.
wow, this is
Yeah.
just boot camp. We've got an eternity ahead of us.
Yeah. And it gives you a sense of, yeah, like you said, it gives you peace. And I think that's something that we all, and I don't know any person that tells you I'm not afraid of death. Anybody at any point in life has had that, and before I go with you, James, I just want to, point some things out. Yeah, the fear of death, and I think everybody at a point realize, what happens when the lights go out. What and a lot, yeah, and like you were saying, Peter at the gate, or yeah, your spirit will go to heaven. But once you understand what personality is, your immutable person, that uniqueness, and you're the uniquest drop. Nothing. It's like your unique DNA, your cosmic DNA. Imagine that. So when you realize that's what personality is. It's not the spirit that goes with it. It's your personality. It's your identity. Your cosmic identity that really transcends. And not only in this planet, it's valid throughout not only other spheres, but other planes, other frequencies. Every part of the universe that you go to, you're there. So that really makes you unique. And it's very, very, I mean, and there's another topic that maybe we're not going to be jumping into this, and maybe you will, James, but it talks about how we choose to It's our choice, you know. It's not death, or the death of personality, because there is, and that's another thing. But we choose that, and that's something that we're going to talk about later. But please, James, can you fill us on your wisdom on this topic as well?
Oh, I don't know about my wisdom here, but I'm really enjoying the conversation, especially there when Don's talking about the belief that actually transcends belief and moves into faith,
Mm-hmm.
and the faith is really where when you go to sleep at night, we do have faith. We have the belief we're gonna wake up, but we also have the faith that we're gonna wake up in the morning, which is more powerful than the belief. And, the faith, I think, is powered, or we can find some real power in it by accepting what we know without even going to, psychology or the Bible or the Rancher book either. We can look around and go, "I am unique."
Mm-hmm.
And Santiago is unique. Don is unique. Every single person that is on this planet right now, and probably on the other planets and the angels too, any being that is endowed with personality is unique. And that
That's the
that
beautiful
just
part.
it
Yeah.
it blows my mind. I mean,
Yeah.
every time I think of it or say it, it's like, how can that be? How can all of these billions or trillions or multi gazillions of personalities all be unique? Well, that's because there is an original personality who is so far beyond what we can understand now, and maybe for a long, long time. And that's the original personality, the first source and center, the Heavenly Father of our personalities. So, like I say, you don't even have to go into theology by just going, wow, unique personality. There's not another Santiago on this planet. I'm sure of it.
Or in the universe, for that
Or in
fact.
the universe, there just isn't. And so, like I say, it gives me kind of a lever to go. That's something so amazing and beautiful and true,
Yeah.
that I can establish my faith on that,
Yeah.
and move into that faith that I will wake up even after this first life experience. And that what Don was talking about, the Ranch book has so much detail about the mechanics. I call it the spiritual technology involved in,
Yeah.
what is the soul, what is the personality,
Mm-hmm.
all of these things. How does that resurrection process work? It's uh, it's a lot, but at the core of all of that, the core of it is this thing called that we call person. So the person, that's where we get this thing we're talking about, personality.
Yeah.
So I did a little quick research in in the Rancher book, and this word, the person, and all of the different uh, forms of that, persons, personal, and personality, etc. There are 4,198 references to that word and all of its forms, like personal and personally. That's by doing the deep search in all the iterations of that word person. So with over 4,000 instances where they're talking about what we say is personal or personality, that means
Well,
they want to get our attention, I think.
and I think this is one of the core aspects, and this is what this podcast is all about. This is the divine within, and it's that personal connection with God, and that's, that everything is personal. And if you're just pointing this out, that there's so much mention about personality and the person. Imagine the importance this is. I mean, this is really who we are as a cosmic citizen. We understand who we are as a human being, or maybe not. Oftentimes, a lot of times we don't understand that, or we try to understand. Imagine we're trying to understand who we are as human beings, trying to understand who we are as a cosmic citizen, as this grand part of the universe, and that's just beautiful. Once we take into and we acknowledge that it. Well, at least let's start first trying to understand how to be a good human being, and then later in later times we'll figure out, the next step. But so before we go into the next segment, which is going to be talking about the original personality that you just mentioned, James, do you guys want to close up with any closing remarks on this segment?
Sure. Um, so I think one of the questions can come up if we have this divine endowment, why is it that so many don't believe in it or don't have enough foundation to have faith in it? How does one develop this confidence and faith in this understanding we have of personality and also personality survival? So why is it that basically I'm asking why is it that basically our world is in the shape it's in if we have this beautiful endowment upon everyone? And I think one of the things that comes to me is that all of us humans have a spiritual capacity that for most of life can remain dormant or
Mm-hmm.
unactivated. The capacity is there. We're inherently endowed with the ability to understand spiritual things. But oftentimes we don't allow that aspect of endowment to manifest itself or to become realized or to break out of the handcuffs that we've put on it.
Yeah.
Often our upbringing and our environment and our educational systems will dictate how we think and behave with everything. And often we hear a lot about an assault. We often hear assaults on the spiritual life and on the divine, and more emphasis put on the material. So when a person, through their own free will, allows their mind to
Mm-hmm.
open up to vast possibilities, they're unleashing and taking the handcuffs off this endowment that we already have inside. And if we really want to
Mm-hmm.
have that confidence about personality survival and becoming a higher functioning individual for ourself and for our future, we've got to allow that third leg of the stool, the spirit, to be unleashed and open our mind and expose ourselves to these ideas and thinking. And then we have a path for moving into that area of complete confidence and personality survival, and we can obliterate a fear of death in this life.
True. True.
Ah, Don, you've hit on both sides of it, both the ideal of believing and having faith in it, and the drawbacks, and particularly the fear, that handcuff metaphor. It's the fear, and that all comes from our animal origin
Yeah.
being. We are fearful creatures. We started out in the jungles or whatever, the old definition, but we had to be very aware of
Yeah.
things coming to try and eat us. That goes way back in our DNA. That still lives with us, and it
It's
still
part of our
does to
nature
some.
still, and that
Yeah.
forms it, it conditions that, and how we evolve from that as well.
Exactly. So that's the downside, and then of course the culture reinforces that,
Mm-hmm.
because we live in a material culture, secular culture, most of us, unless we're in Tibet or in some you know environment where it's strictly a monastic or something like that.
Yeah.
But for most of us, we're living out here in the material world. Uh, like Sting said in the Police song, "We are spirits in the material world." Uh,
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
that really grounds us into this materialistic uh, perspective, which
Yeah.
is the handcuffs
The
that
outlook
you
and
mentioned.
everything is outlook. The outlook is materialistic, and yeah, the handcuffs that you were saying, it grills you or it grounds you.
It does, and I've got one other thing here with you're talking about so the personality survival and choices. There's a couple of really good quotes that help to alleviate this fear that I'm talking about. And this one, it says that sin is fraught with fatal consequences to personality survival only when it is the attitude of the whole being, when it stands for the choosing of the mind and the willing of the soul. So that says that it's got to be a real heavy
A
choice.
choice.
And then also here it says eternal survival can be jeopardized only by the decisions of the mind and the choice of the soul of the individual himself. So this is empowering. This tells us that we have the tools, and
Yeah,
it's
it's within our
choice.
hands, and that's
It's not.
beautiful. Our survival depends on us. It's a choice that we make, and that's really one of the things that liberates us. That it's our choice. It doesn't depend neither on God, neither on anybody else. And that's the beautiful gift that God also gives us. That choice to finally go from potential to actual and become part of the supreme that we are all becoming, the universe is becoming.